Okay, so I'm making a tier list, and I'm making a tier list of mostly freely obtainable units. I will not be covering every single nat 3, every single nat 4 in the game. I don't think there is a point to doing that, because first of all, a lot of units are just really bad and it's just not worth wasting your time with them. Instead, I'm only gonna be reviewing the units that I've actually used to progress. For the first 3.5 months, I was completely free to play, and by the time I was able to beat pretty much all of the PvE content that came out, usually on day 1 or day 2. Of course, with a few exceptions like the trial, not the trial, what's it called? The spires for ascension and the galagos ruins. Apart from that, all of the PvE content has been completed, and it was mostly completed with free to play progress. So now I will be giving my review on all of the units that I've used towards doing that. Most of these are nat 3s and nat 4s. You will see some nat 5s like the Bastet, the Wind Ifrit mixed in, but these are still freely obtainable. So Galleon, he's probably the only one that is no longer obtainable on global, but previously for us he was in the arena shop, so most users who are from NA will have him. Bastet, Wind Ifrit, of course, were both from events. Karambit is from the Monster Story. And what else is there? The Window Girl also was from an event. And apart from that, I think the rest are just nat 3s and nat 4s. So yeah, I'll be looking over these units, and most of these units are something you already built as well. At least you will see some familiar faces, and I'll explain how they help me out and basically rank them on how much they help me out. And mostly I will not be targeting this a lot at PvP, it's mostly gonna be PvE progress, so yeah, let's go. First of all, the Light Inugami Bella. I built him for one reason only pretty much, and it was for guild raids. I built him pretty recently. Up until then I really didn't use him because first of all, his heal is pretty abysmal, and the cost on that heal is actually insane. Like, I think it heals for like 22%, and it costs like 5 mana, so yeah. I just needed a unit that can both heal and give me attack speed, and I use him solely for either AFK farming, because he allows me to just hit those random units a bit more, or for the guild raid, because I do hit the towers now to balance out the guild boss. So for that, he does his purpose very well, but other than that, I would say, this unit ain't that good. So for what he does it okay, but even then, I cannot give him higher than C, because the heal, both the cost and the amount, is just horrible. Okay, Wind Griffon rather, Bernard. So this guy, I love him. He's so useful for speedruns. If you go to the, the leaderboards, yeah, you'll notice that in the leaderboards, most of the runs have Bernard, and they actually have Bernard not only for the, attack speed that he provides, but also the movement speed, because for records, the main reason people actually bring Bernard is not to just attack faster, but to actually get to the boss faster, and yeah, he does help with that. Especially once you've conquered the raids pretty well, he will be super useful for that. Also, he is super useful for some of the other dungeons, so for Rupture, it helps it clear with that way faster, because there's a lot of walking in these dungeons. For Seal, it's also an amazing unit, because it allows you to hit the boss faster with your basic attack units and just dodge attacks, and overall he's also very useful in scenario farming. So for this guy, I really love him. I still use him frequently, so I have to give him like an A. I cannot give him the skyrocket progress, because he didn't exactly help me beat a certain dungeon better, but apart from that, amazing unit. I definitely recommend having one. Even if you don't use him much, he will be really good help once you are able to speedrun the dungeons and do the seal a bit easier. And now Cassie, the Dark Caiross. So she is available for secret dungeons, and that's probably the main reason I built her. And honestly, she was supposed to be a Karambit replacement, because both her skills and Karambits all ignore, the damage mitigation ignoring effect. So basically it goes through the invincibilities, shields, defense buffs, stuff like that, so she can still deal damage through all of those buffs. And honestly, everyone hyped her out as a Karambit replacement, but after testing damage, found out that she does like 25 to 30% less damage than Karambit. And honestly, I never found much use for her. I have very niche use for her in one of the raids. So in this raid, when the minion phase spawns, I pop both Karambit and her, and that way I don't need any CC to remove all of those minion shields. I can just go through with raw damage and deal with the minions way easier. But for that alone, I wouldn't be able to give her a good rank. Apart from that, I would say she is a decent unit. Honestly, not a big fan, didn't help me progress pretty much at all. So I'll give her like a D. I cannot give E because she is a good unit overall, but for progress, for me, she didn't help, honestly. Not the help that I needed, at least. And a reminder that this tier list is not about how strong a unit is, it's about how much it helped me in the progress. So it's very important for that, because the rankings you see may be a bit controversial compared to the rankings of the units themselves. Okay, Chloe, she is hyped as the sort of amazing emergency option for nuking stages, and I know that people use that for, like, use her a lot for that, but I personally never got the hype. I never understood why she's such an important unit. Sure, it will help you push, for example, a higher trial of ascension stage a bit faster, but you can also like wait a week, improve a lot, and just beat that TOA stage probably on auto. So for that purpose, I really don't get it. I know she's used a lot in Galagos nuke runs. She's pretty good there. Personally, I tried it. It never stuck to me as well. I wasn't able to get her to work, although she is an amazing unit for what she does. So that will reflect in her rating as well. But personally, for progress, she didn't help me much. So I will put her... I think I did use her in some Galaga stages, so she did help me there. I'll put her somewhere in the C tier, but definitely below Bella, because Bella, even though he's used for less, he did help me with his purpose a bit more. Okay, Raccoon, this guy. This guy I also built recently when Galagos Ruins came out, and honestly, I was surprised at how good he is at what he does. That heal, that first skill heal of 6% every basic attack is actually pretty insane. Yeah, I was very surprised, and the amazing other thing about him is that both of his other charge skills are very useful. So this was sort of like a big emergency heal. If you don't need a heal, you are able to just spam this because it just boosts cooldowns and skill acceleration. And I use him as a sort of emergency, not emergency, the sort of constant healer that just heals chunks of HP slowly. And honestly, he's pretty amazing for that. So because I only use him in a few Galaga stages, I won't give him a lot, but he is pretty good for what he does, so I'll have to give him a B. Okay, and the big boy Dozer. This one I sort of built more for PvP, and he was very fun to one-shot Orbius with. But for PvE progress, he actually helped me out quite a bit as well. First of all, I was surprised at how good he was at Galagos Ruins, and for a few stages, especially when you get a good buff for warrior type units, he can actually do a lot of damage very surprisingly easily, yeah? And other than that, he was also pretty good in some dungeons. I think I still use him in here, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, he's sort of really nice here. If I switch to fire element, this is my third lines team. It's sort of very weird, but it just works, and I never bothered to replace him. Also, that guy was super amazing in Expedition, since this Expedition requires a Fire Warrior. Since then, I have replaced him with the Fire Harpy, but before the Fire Harpy, he was a very good option for that dungeon. So, for what he did, and for the purpose that I built him, he definitely very surprised me on how much he helped me in such cases. So, I will give him probably low B to high C, maybe. I'd say like... yeah, I'll stick to low B, because I really did like using him, and the fact that he's good at PvP on top of that is just a very beautiful sort of addition. Okay, Fire Fairy, of course, no need to say again how amazing she is for early game. However, apart from the early game story, as well as a few dungeons here and there, especially the Forgotten Earth Shrine. Where is that? So yeah, this dungeon, because she can remove both defense buff and attack buff. Apart from that, honestly, she was the first unit I replaced with another damage dealer, and while she did help a lot, I cannot give a very high rank to her, so definitely use her. She will help you in the beginning, especially the very beginning, but you will phase her out pretty soon, so I'm gonna place her in low B. Okay, and this guy, Fire Gore, I don't know why I feel it. Honestly, I saw someone mention that he's an amazing unit for early countering the Third Lance Cave because of the skill. So since the boss gets crit rate up and crit damage up, this skill only costs 2 mana and it removes crit rate up and crit damage up. I built him, I thought he'll be amazing in, this dungeon, the Third Lance Cave. So basically the boss gets crit rate up and crit damage up, and that mob does remove both of them. I built him, I tested him out, and honestly, even if you are early game, this is straight up where it goes. I never got the hype of him. He didn't even help me with that dungeon that much. I think it increased my win rate by like a few percent at most, and even then it was very low, so I don't know. I built him early, since he is mostly used for early, sort of very early access to the dungeon. And no, I cannot give any good word about him. He just didn't help, and I wasted a lot of resources on him. Thankfully, the nat 3s got cheaper, so we got a lot of those refunded. But if the nat 3s had all the awakening prices, wow, I would have regretted him even more. Okay, and Dozer's brother Tractor, this guy is also pretty much only used for one purpose, and that's for the Boiling Waterfall dungeon to deal with the minions. He has an amazing 2 mana AoE provoke, which has a massive range, by the way. Just check out that range, I just want to show you. Look, that covers like half of the minion arena. Insane. And yeah, for what he does it very well. He only has one purpose, and he fills that purpose very well. I also tried using him in Galagos, and he is pretty decent for getting some aggro from the enemies, so yeah, helped me a lot. Maybe less than Bernard, but definitely A tier in my opinion, because you build him for one purpose, he does that purpose probably the best in the whole game, and yeah, there's just nothing you can complain about him. Okay, Galleon, the Water Pirate Captain. So this is probably the only unit that's no longer obtainable in Global, and most likely will not be obtainable. For us, he was in Arena Shop. I built him with the PvE purpose in mind, and in the end, he ended up being way more useful in Challenge and Brawl Arena compared to PvE. For PvE, I mostly built him to sort of replace Bastet. I never managed to do that. I found that the Bastet shield safety is just way too useful to replace her with Galleon, so the main purpose was to replace Bastet in here, so to get something like this. That way I could get a defense break, and back then I wasn't using her, so I didn't have any defense break. I was using something like this. He did fill that spot pretty well, but apart from that, I managed to find a better team, and after testing after testing Galleon there, he did perform way worse, because the Bastet shield does absorb a lot of damage over time from that boss. For other dungeons, I also tried using him, but in most cases you already have a defense break of some sort, usually the Helia for bosses, so he didn't really fulfill the purpose that I wanted too much. So he did help me with Expedition, so I will place him in high C. But apart from that, I was a bit disappointed from the PvE side with him. Okay, and finally the Queen herself, this unit, NA had it, the Global has it right now in the event. You should farm her, and the reason why you should farm her is because I use her like everywhere. She's an amazing unit. She will be your main attack buffer in pretty much all of the content except for Twisted Marsh. And yeah, I honestly don't have a single bad word about her. She just helped me everywhere I brought her, even if the dungeon was like wind element and she's clearly disadvantaged. There's literally not a single dungeon where she made a dungeon worse, except Twisted March, of course. And yeah, honestly, I can't give a single bad word. She boosted my progress a lot, and she boosted the progress pretty much everywhere. So I have to give her a sort of skyrocket progress, or S tier is this you're gonna call it. Yeah, amazing unit, make sure to build her, she helps a lot. Okay, next up, our sturdy boy Karambit. So this guy, honestly, people like to compare him to Cassie a lot. I don't get it. Cassie does way less damage, and for the fact that he's a free-to-play unit, he boosted my progress a lot as well. So I started pretty much using him when the Boiling Waterfall dungeon came out. I think he might have come out with that dungeon as well, although don't quote me on that. And he was amazing for that dungeon. First of all, there was this buff on the boss that basically prevented the boss from taking damage, and not only could Karambit deal with that shield, so with the Naraka phase, he could also just straight up do damage to the boss through it, so he sort of did two purposes at once. Other than that, I'm not a big fan of his charged abilities, but his basic attack is very good, and I think the passive allows him to stack attack speed, so he's more useful in an attack speed build, and up to this day, I'm using him in pretty much every PvE dungeon. A lot of Path of Adventure, a lot of Caiross, a lot of Expedition. As you can see, he's also in my Arachne team. He's by far the main damage healer here, doing like 3 or 4 times more damage than the rest of the units. He's in pretty much every single dungeon here. In galagos, of course, I cannot use him. In all of the party dungeons, he's in every single party dungeon team, as you can see. Yeah, any team. I think this is my Twisted March team. Any team that I go into, Karambit is by far the best damage dealer that I've had so far. I do plan on replacing him with the fire, what's it called, Vampire Hunter when he comes out. I'll do a damage test on that, but for the unit being free and for how much he helped me out, he definitely deserves this spot. I will put him behind Bastet because I think Karambit is more replaceable than Bastet, but yeah, other than that, Karambit, amazing unit. If you don't have any other options or you're not planning to summon a Vampire Hunter, the Fire Vampire Hunter, definitely give him a shot. I love this unit. He's not even maxed awakened, I think he has like awakening 11. But yeah, love him, love him, love him. He does a lot of damage, especially if you are able to get a high attack speed build on him. Now another net 5, and this net 5 was available from an event as well. I think it was like the last event we've had so far. And I tested her out, I tried her in some dungeons, and this is pretty much what she deserves. I would actually put her even below the gore, because the gore actually did something for her. I tested her out, I tested her in multiple dungeons, she was absolutely useless, she didn't help at all. She does have some nice use in PvP, but for PvE, no, if you get her event, don't build her, she's completely useless. The most she will help may be some TOA and galagos stages, but even then, she's a nat 5, and just for that, I would say she is definitely not worth building. Okay, and one more nat 5, and this guy was also available from the event. He was available from the event after Bastet, so I'm not sure if the global is getting it. For this guy, his skills is sort of oriented more towards PvP, since he does 2 AoE damage abilities, and those damage abilities do have some crowd control, so like stuns, damage over time, electric shock. He was pretty cool for that. I use him as my main damage dealer, but I mostly use him because I had high power on him. Apart from that, he isn't that useful when you think about it. At this moment, I only use him first of all for high power, because he has a very high book effect and I farmed a lot of copies, so he's still being used for that. But if I didn't have a lot of book copies, he would have been definitely reset by now, and I would never use him, definitely. For now, I only use him in the Seal Dungeon for his basic attacks, so I pop an attack speed build, and his main purpose is to just extend the damage over time effects on the boss. Apart from that, really not that useful, so I will give him sort of I was supposed to a high D. I definitely use him more than the Dark Cassie, but he definitely doesn't deserve a higher spot, and I'm basing this on the fact that you may not be getting an event and just build a regular Wind Ifrit copy with like Awakening level 9 or something like that. And yeah, for that purpose, he's definitely not worth it. If you do get an event, you may have a case that you will have a very high power unit. But even for that, I would say not that worth it. Okay, not Wind Griffin, Water Griffin. I built this guy, I built him pretty early. I don't know why I built him, to be honest. Maybe he was required in some mission. But I built him, I actually fully skill him up, apart from the first skill, but first skill really doesn't matter since he mostly uses his charge abilities for do damage. He does decent damage, to be honest. He does defense break and then move defense up. So I thought I could use him for dungeons like the what's it called? Forgotten Earth Shrine, because he does put defense up and you can remove it. He didn't outperform the Fire Fairy, no way she did. Other than that, I also tried using him in hero area, so for the dungeon where you get the water bonus. Even for that, I noticed that he's not that good, and units like Galleon, straight up, not even bringing damage, bringing another support, performed way more than he ever did, so yeah, not a big fan. He did help me out a tiny bit in the beginning, but other than that, I definitely don't recommend building him. Ooh, and Remy, the water guard. So we know that the fire one is very good and the water one definitely doesn't disappoint as well. So he has very niche use. For now, I use him in the seal dungeon to just allow some movement speed. I also use him for various random stuff like scenario farming, because he is by far the best movement speed buffer in the game. He has level 3 movement speed compared to Bernard's level 2. So I use him to farm scenario, and I use something like this, I think. So this guy constantly boosts speed, and this allows you to just walk very fast from mob to mob. That way you are able to hunt more, and during events that we have like right now, you are able to hunt more candies. Other than that, he's also pretty nice in some galagos stages where you have to pass traps. So there are these trap stages, I don't know if I mean, yeah, trap sectors, where you have to move very fast or have a lot of dashes, and with Remy you are able to pass those stages pretty easily. So for what he did and for what his purpose was, he helped me a lot. But overall, as a unit, he's definitely nothing too special. I will give him below Bernard, because Bernard does help offensively due to his attack speed buff. I would give him somewhere close to, actually no, you know what, I will put him above Remy in the B tier. Okay, another unit that I recently discovered is Lokasha, the Fire Harp, and I even made a video about her, how I successfully replaced the Fire Lizardman with her in the Expedition Dungeon. I built her with one purpose in mind. She is a Fire Warrior unit, meaning that she does fulfill this requirement, and with her second skill, she actually hits the boss 6 times, and each hit has a 50% chance to apply defense break. With that, for this boss, she is able to consistently upkeep like level 10 defense break on the boss for like the whole time. And for that purpose, I love her. She's an amazing unit. She's not used pretty much anywhere else apart from that for me. But for what she's used, she is a beautiful unit. Also, she may help with the guild raids, especially since if you're one of the people who are taking towers, the tower's health are based on hits, not on damage, so the more units hit, the less HP the boss will have, meaning that with that skill, she can shoot like 6 times, and those 6 hits help reduce the boss's, the tower's HP a lot. So for what she does, she doesn't do a lot, but for what she does, she helped me a lot, and I would put her somewhere below Tractor. I think Tractor is way more beneficial than her, but they are pretty equal tiers in terms of how much they helped me progress. Okay, next up, Dark Harpy, the main pick that you should get from the Light and Dark 3-star selection ticket, and for a good reason. Her third skill, level 1 defense break, level 1 damage taken up, and on top of that she also shoots the same attack two more times, meaning that in total you are able to get level 3 defense break and level 3 damage taken up on just 4 mana. Amazing boss setup, works in single player dungeons, works in raids, works in a lot of other various raids, guild raids. There's really nothing bad about her, and I will give her a skyrocket progress, of course I will have her that, because there's no better unit that does the same buffs pretty much. However, I will not put her above Bastet or Karambit because she does have decent replacements, and I think it is harder to find replacements for these two compared to her. But other than that, definitely Skyrocket Progress, amazing unit, build her. Even if you don't actively use her, if you see that in a raid team you are missing a defense break, just pop her in and she will be more than enough damage setup. Okay, Light Hard, not Hard, Light Hard, Shushu, yeah. This unit I also built for one purpose, and it's solely for the Twisted Marsh dungeon. His heal is better than Lulu's when you are cleansing a lot of damage overtime effects, because for Lulu she removes one harmful effects of any kind. For this guy he removes all damage overtime effects, and in that dungeon you do have a lot of damage overtimes, usually 2 to 3, because the boss can transfer buffs and she also deals 2 different damage overtime effects herself. So for that purpose, I built him for one purpose. He performed that purpose really well. I use him in my team to this day, and really there's just nothing bad I could say about him. There are the placement options, so we have to take that into account. So I will place him in, you know what, I'll probably place him above Bernard, because for what he did help me more in progress than Bernard. I heard he is also pretty good in PvP because of that immunity, so you can try him out there. I never tried him in PvP, but since we're making a tier list on PvE and how much units helped me in PvE progress, I have to put him at A. Okay, Water Garuda, I don't think I need any more words. This skill, insane. This skill, super useful. Cheap unit, amazing unit, use him till this day. Straight up to probably, you know what, no, I'm gonna put him here. Amazing unit. I don't think I need any more words on why he's amazing. Even in very late game you can use him for that second skill to just keep boosting your skills, and if you pair him with units like Bastet, she's able to upkeep that shield a lot. She's able to debuff enemies with that attack break. If you have a lot of damage dealer units that benefit from charge skills, you can also use him for that. So yeah, I cannot say a single bad word about a unit. Amazing, make sure to max him out, you will use him into the future as well. Now the Dark Hog, oh, this guy, top tier raid support. Both of his charge skills are amazing, so this one crit damage taken up, pretty rare debuff. I would say the most common unit apart from him is the Wind Naomi, who also has it on the second skill, but if you are not running any cats in the team and you are going for something like Wind Vampires, this guy will help a lot with that second skill. And this skill, don't even get me started how amazing this is, especially when paired with attack speed units like Karambit, like Cassie. This one boosts the speed a lot, allows them to even stack the passive even more. Crit rate up, allowing you to not get a 100% crit rate on your units, and I think one of my units has very low crit rate. I think I had a specific set, yeah, where the unit only had like 50 to 60% crit rate, because with the Crow buff, one buff allows him to boost crit rate by 40%, and in those cases, this is out of a very early damage set. I have a way better one now at like 100 crit rate, so you're not really needed to max out. But especially if you're on the weaker side, that unit will help your progress a lot. You should bring him in pretty much every single lobby. If one of you in the lobby has a Crow, he should be in the roster. He isn't, you know what, I got him early and he did help me with a lot of raids, so yeah, he deserves a skyrocket progress in my opinion. He definitely helped me boost my damage a lot. Now, Rigel, oh, this guy is probably the only Nat 4 that was released after the game release, right? Because after that we are only getting new Nat 5s. This unit was available from challenges for free. I don't think he is anymore, but for what he does, I think the developers released this guy and they released him with one single dungeon in mind, because this skill compared to together with his passive is quite literally a direct counter to this dungeon. And by the time I think I was doing like level 12 to level 13, maybe struggling with level 13. I got the Fire Lich. I was by then altering level 15, no skill ups or anything, just give him an attack speed build. This guy helped my progress so much, especially since before the global release, only the level 15 dungeons had purple or higher tier runes, and even at level 14 you were able to get blue runes, so getting level 15 was sort of the main goal for any starter. Right now you can no longer get blue runes at level 12 or above, but for then he had one purpose. I built him for one purpose, and he made that purpose super useful. He deserves skyrocket progress for what he did, and he's not even going last. He definitely helped me more than Kroa, definitely helped me more than Harpy. I would say I place him around here. Amazing unit. I cannot thank the developers enough for giving him to us. And if you're early game, you're struggling with like a level 10 dungeon or something, and you have him, make sure to build him. All you need is level him up a bit, awakening level 5 to unlock the passive. No skill ups needed, that's the best part about it. Just pop a sort of high attack speed set, a swift set if you are able to, if not just get some attack speed subs, and he'll shoot you through that progress for that dungeon. Okay, and Fire Lizard. So this guy was pretty much the main recommended option for the expedition, so he was like everyone's favorite for this because he was sort of like the go-to guy for a fighter warrior unit. The main reason for that is he was a defense scaling unit, meaning that since the boss attacks a unit with the highest defense, usually he would be the tank and the rest of the units could deal damage. What I realized later on is that my Cleave actually has way higher defense than the Lizard, so the Lizard sort of was just there, and my Cleave was always getting hit as a priority target, so he didn't help me much. For other summoners he might help more. Personally, I really regret building him. I didn't use him anywhere else apart from that. And yeah, so he did allow me to do the dungeon, I guess, but he was replaced pretty fast, so I'll give him somewhere around a higher E. Definitely helped more than the Griffon, but apart from that, really don't like this unit at all. Okay, Lulu, the Water Hull. Amazing unit, definitely a pretty similar option to this, but more useful in certain raids, I would say. He's definitely a bit more useful in stuff like Boiling Waterfall because there is a heal block in there. He's more useful in certain PvE stages like harder dungeons like tier A. He's pretty good in Galagos and definitely better than the Light Howl. But yeah, I built him for the purpose of the Boiling Waterfall. He fulfilled that purpose very well, and I just ended up using him even further, so I will give him a similar rating to the Light Howl, but I will put the Water Howl above Light Howl in terms of PvE progress, because he will be more useful than the Light Howl in my opinion, as usually you're bringing him to cleanse a debuff rather than just for the pure heals. And he will help you cleanse more debuffs than the light one. Oh, Naomi, the Windcat, amazing unit. My main damage dealer has my main damage dealer runes. As you can see, I upgraded her set quite recently. Decent attack, I suppose, almost 100 crit, up to 200 crit damage. Definitely nothing special as well, but it was a big jump from the previous set she has. Spamming this skill is so amazing. My go-to raid teams are usually Karambit, Naomi, and Kroa for most dungeons. And in that purpose, Kroa can just sit in the non-soul slot, spam his buffs, spam his debuffs. Karambit also doesn't need a soul slot because I mainly use him for the attack speed with the basic attack. And since I have a free charge slot, I use her. You can set, if you're doing an auto, you can set the auto settings to use this skill. Do not use this skill. This is something I learned that I was making a mistake for the very longest time. These skills have the same multiplier, and the bleed is way less useful than the crit damage taken up, because this buff is pretty rare and it does boost damage a lot. So make sure to set this up. Compared to her passive, or together with her passive, amazing unit. As you can see, she's almost 100k power for me already. because I just invested a lot in her. She has a lot of book entries, she has max awakening and things like that. Amazing unit, best damage dealer that I probably have so far, and definitely replaceable. I'll give her that. She is replaceable, but she also boosted my progress a lot. So I'll put her at low S tier. Okay, the Fire Pixie, she was also built with one purpose, and that's to counter the Seal Dungeon. I saw that she is pretty useful in doing that, but other than that, I was doing the Seal Dungeon perfectly fine before and really didn't find much use for her. However, when I started using her, I noticed that the runs were a little bit faster because if you're the only person who brought a burn exploding unit, the runs will be a bit faster since she can drop like 2% from the boss whenever she uses her third skill. If you see that there's like one or two other pixies, or what's called the fire pumpkin guys, she will not be that much use. So for what she does, she's definitely amazing. I wouldn't say she helped me progress a lot, so I'll put her somewhere around the, I would say, yeah, together with the Wind Ifrit, because that's pretty much the same purpose I use them for, except Wind Ifrit is of course a nat 5, so he's a bit more useful in terms of getting power. Other than that, she's there for one dungeon. She does what she does very well, but she didn't help me progress a lot. She's just sort of a utility option that I've built. And it's very similar to the Fire Pixie, the Seal, and yes, the name is amazingly fitting for the dungeon. So the unit Seal is a very good addition to the dungeon Seal, as the name implies. I built her up because her third skill had two very unique damage over time effects that are pretty rare to get, because usually you get a Frostbite, Electric Shock, and Burn on a lot of units, and these two are a bit rarer, so I built her for that. I was using her back when the cheese method for Seal was still viable, and I noticed that this skill has a very long or very short range, and if I just leave a Seal on order, she would use the skill, but she would never hit the boss. And yeah, so pretty much it's a nat 4 that I wasted my resources on, and while I still sometimes rarely bring her in cases where the rest of my team died, other than that, I cannot recommend building her unless you're really struggling with damage over time effects when the Seal Dungeon comes out. So I'll give her somewhere around a high E, definitely more useful than these two, but yeah, not a big fan overall. Okay, Shannon, Wind Pixie, part of the Holy Trinity, of course. Love her, definitely helped me progress, and I sometimes very rarely bring her into Galagos, but she will get outphased by Bastet once you have her, because Bastet is sort of a, even though Pixie has the defense buff, she is a less safe option than Bastet, because Bastet can actually absorb damage, whereas the Pixie cannot. So definitely use her, definitely build her if you are just starting out, but once you are able to get a fully max skill Bastet going, she will definitely not help you further than that. So I will give her higher than Fairy because I think she's more useful than the Fairy. No, you know what? She deserves an A tier, I think. Definitely above her, oh, no, you know what? I'm gonna place him around here. I think he is more useful for what he does compared to the Shannon. But yeah, amazing unit. But you will phase her out as soon as you're done with the Bastet event. Now for the Konamiya's light brother, Tion. He has a very similar skill set. His second skill is identical, only the difference is his heal. So first of all, his heal is 1 mana cost higher, and it also scales with units HP rather than the Konamiya's, or rather the Tion's max HP, so you don't really need an HP build. He is mostly used as a reviver, so I usually just bring him into Galagos, where you need to revive a certain unit when they died inside the stage. He's pretty much used for the similar purpose in the Seal Dungeon, so when one of your units accidentally dies, you can just bring him in, revive the unit, heal him up, and substitute him back out for that unit. Recently, I also started using him in the team as well, so instead of using the Fire Pixie, which most people already have, I actually started using him, and because he can constantly boost skills of the other two units, He allows me to do more dots that way, so this is sort of a recent addition. I think I tested it 1 or 2 days ago, and I really like him for that. So he does help out. I cannot say that he helped out more than Konamiya because he is the better early game option because of the cheaper heal, in my opinion, the more useful heal. So I will put him in like B tier. I would put him, I think, below the Fairy. He definitely helped, but he is not as impactful as the Konamiya was. And now I see that the last 4 units are very niche, so we'll speed through them. This guy, this girl, I built him solely for Galagos. She's awesome what she does. She can cleanse, she gives you shields, she can give you decent heals. A lot of supports usually get buffs where they can get a defense buff as well. So awesome unit. Not too useful for progress, but I built her for her own purpose. She'd help me for that purpose, and I'll put her in C. Now this guy I also built for Galagos, both for his heal as well as attack speed buff on this skill, as well as the defense break on this. When max kills, very similarly to Belladion, as you can see, the healing is abysmal, the attack speed is pretty cool, the mana cost is insane. The defense break is pretty reliable once he's max killed, but yeah, you know what? No, don't. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. And I'll probably pace. No, you know what? He deserves this spot, I think. He's definitely way more useful than the Akogre. Yeah, around here. I definitely regret building him. I'm not a big fan of him. Okay, Wind Witch helped with the stage 4 or act 4 because of wind element, and she is free to get, so definitely a useful thing there. Her third skill is pretty cool. I actually used her in some hero area dungeons as well as some niche use for the Shrekly boss, so for what she does, she did it pretty well, and while I can't give her a high rating, I definitely can rate her usefulness for the spot, and I'll put her in around low B, low D. And the last unit, Zinc, also built mainly for Galagos dungeons. I was actually very surprised with his skill set, and he performed very well in Galagos dungeons by both debuffing the enemies as well as setting them up, sort of, I don't know how you call it, for setting them up with debuffs so that a lot of other units could benefit from those debuffs, because in Galagos you get a lot of buffs where if you debuff, you get certain effects. He's also a warrior unit, so warriors usually get a lot of buffs for me, and since I have a lot of warrior units, he usually gets buffed a lot. I also used him in TOA, and he's a very nice option to counter those stages where you have a lot of buffs, since he does have a block beneficial effect. Attack down allows him to minimize the damage the units do there, so also a very recent build, and definitely pretty useful. I would say I would put him even... Oh, can I put him above the water? I think no, you know what? I'll put him around here. So yeah, that's pretty much my tier list of the units that helped me personally progress. All of these units have been built by me. Some of them already reset. Some are still built and used to this very day, especially the top ones. Every single unit I still use pretty much every day. Or maybe except her, I sort of phase her out, but that's usually because my raid party has defense break set up, so I don't need to build it. And yeah, other than that, hope you enjoyed and hope this helps in maybe choosing some units that will help you out. And yeah, peace!